After the shock of the Capitol, Trump's still under pressure. As Democrats mull over new impeachment proceedings, FBI investigates congressional violence. Reclusive in the White House, the president could counterattack this week. Banned from social media, dropped by part of his camp, and under the threat of a new impeachment procedure in Congress, Donald Trump looks more than ever like a hunted beast. With the dangers that this entails. Since his supporters' assault on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, which he personally encouraged and which claimed the lives of 5 people, the U.S. president has remained cloistered in the White House, and largely silent. A silence partly imposed, the final suspension of his Twitter account to 88 million subscribers having deprived him of his favorite megaphone. But only partially. Trump could have given an interview, as he has often done, to the conservative Fox News channel, where he retains some support, or to the more confidential Newsmax and OAN, which remains with him completely. He did not do it. Unusual among the egotistical billionaire, this discretion should not last, however. As of Tuesday, he plans to go to the Rio Grande Valley, Texas, to praise the successes of its immigration administration, starting with building more than 650 kilometers of barriers on the border with Mexico, in fact, mostly renovating existing fences. It's a safe bet that he will also use his speech to denounce the censorship he considers to be the subject of digital platforms. Shortly after the announcement of the permanent suspension of his Twitter account, he reacted to that of the presidency. "We will not be silenced," he promised the 75 million patriots who voted for him in the recent presidential election. New salvo of graces. According to several American media including Bloomberg, Donald Trump is also preparing a new wave of presidential pardons, after former advisors involved in the Russian affair and Blackwater mercenaries convicted of murdering Iraqi civilians. The outgoing president may be tempted to pardon those closest to him, including his adult children and their spouses, in order to protect them from any future lawsuits. According to the New York Times, Trump has even privately raised the possibility of self-pardon in recent weeks. The debate on the legality of such a practice, which would be unprecedented, divides constitutionalists. If he wants to push the provocation a step further, Donald Trump now has a lethal weapon to pardon his supporters arrested in recent days for their role in the intrusion on Capitol Hill. On Friday, the Justice Department announced 13 of them had been charged with federal crimes, including 60-year-old Richard Barnett from Arkansas, who proudly set foot on Nancy Pelosi's desk. The Democratic president of the House of Representatives, arrested on Friday, he will appear before a federal judge on Tuesday before his probable extradition to Washington. If the first photos and videos of the astonishing invasion of Congress, including those of Richard Barnett, all smiles, could have given the impression of a harmless, even good-natured assault, the testimonies and images distilled this weekend by the American media have clearly changed the game. On Friday night, the Washington Post revealed 2 video clips showing 3 Capitol Hill police officers facing rioters eager to walk through a barricaded double door leading to a hallway along the House of Representatives. As the police move away, several men attempt to smash the door windows with kicks, helmets, and sticks. When a woman climbs through the broken window, a policeman on the other side of the door opens fire. Ashley Babbitt, a Donald Trump supporter from California, collapses. She will die shortly after. Elected officials threatened. In another particularly violent video, a group of police officers from the Capitol in riot gear attempt to block the road to a crowd of rioters. One of them is spraying law enforcement with what looks like a pepper spray. Caught between a plexiglass shield and a metal door, one of the police officers, whose gas mask was purposely ripped off by a pro-Trump, clearly appears in distress. Blood is escaping from his mouth. He calls for help. His state of health is unknown at this stage. But struck by protesters, another Capitol Hill police officer, Brian Sicknick, died of his injuries Thursday evening. As a tribute, the Capitol's flags were half-masted the next day. Unlike those in the White House. On Friday, the FBI vowed to continue to aggressively investigate every individual involved in the violent invasion of the U.S. parliamentary temple. Its offices across the country are mobilized to identify them based on information posted on social networks. Several photos aroused a stir in particular interest. 2 men are seen in the Senate compound in paramilitary attire, wearing bulletproof vests. One wears a helmet, the other a belt holster with what looks like a pistol. Above all, the 2 hold white drawstrings in their hands, which are used as plastic handcuffs in mass arrests. Did they intend, the FBI wonders very seriously, to take congressional officials hostage or even kill them? Inside, a Reuters photographer claimed on Twitter that he heard several rioters express their intention to find Vice President Mike Pence to execute him by hanging him from a tree on Capitol Hill. Faithful among the faithful, Mike Pence ended up breaking with Donald Trump on Wednesday, refusing to participate in the contestation in Congress of the results of the presidential election. Vilified by the president for his supposed lack of courage, the vice president, who was on Capitol Hill at the time of the assault, had to be taken to safety by his protection service. The two have not said a word since, the New York Times understands. However, the vice president does not seem willing to respond to the multiple calls, mainly from the Democratic ranks, to trigger the 25th Amendment against Trump. This text would allow him, provided he had the support of the majority of cabinet members, to declare Donald Trump incapable of performing his duties and to arrogate to himself his powers. Indelible stigma. In the absence of Trump's resignation or resort to this constitutional amendment, Nancy Pelosi has vowed to take action in the House, urging elected Democrats to return to Washington this week to decide how to hold the president accountable. This could take the form of impeachment proceedings. A first indictment text, impeachment, signed by at least 180 Democratic deputies, has already been introduced. He accuses the president of having deliberately made statements that encouraged the invasion of Capitol Hill. This Sunday, Democrat-elected James Clyburn said the motion could be discussed Tuesday or Wednesday. If the House of Representatives votes on this indictment, then it would be up to the Senate to vote for the impeachment, by a two-thirds majority, or acquittal of Donald Trump. Usually long and complex, this process is even more so in the current timetable of the transition. The Senate will not meet until January 19, the day before the president's term of office expires. The upper house could therefore be brought, if it is considered legally possible, to vote on the impeachment of Trump after he leaves the White House. Some voices, including on the Democratic side, have been raised to abandon this path, believing that it risked putting the brakes on the early days of Democratic President Joe Biden, which will notably need to have all the members of its administration confirmed by the Senate. It would make no sense to conduct impeachment proceedings after Jan. 20, Senator Joe Manchin, the most conservative of Democrats, said on CNN. Even if he were to be acquitted by the Senate thanks to the support of the Republicans, a second impeachment unprecedented in the history of the American presidency would constitute an indelible opprobrium for Donald Trump. In the immediate term, however, he could seek to profit from it, exposing, as he has done for 4 years, a plot by Washington's elites to bring him down. A plot in which actively participate, in his eyes, Twitter, Facebook and other platforms which have decided to ban him. 10 days from the end of his adrift presidency, Trump could push indecency to the point of setting himself up as a martyr, at the risk of further fueling the anger, even violence, of its most fierce supporters.